What's going on, everybody? It's Eat the Hatchet. I'm your host, Steve, and we're going to be going over the Blackhawks shootout loss against the Winnipeg Jets. 5-4 loss that was surprisingly a good game from the Blackhawks. And I'm recording this on Sunday, so this is the morning following the game. And I'll probably be looking to have this episode air sometime tonight, which is April 13th, or on Monday. But I figured, I didn't get to record a post-game show for the last game, and figured try to just get something out. But this not including this game, there's 2 more games left in the schedule, so regular season is winding down. And yesterday it was it was a good game. I really enjoyed it. What I noticed was the Blackhawks, they played not just like a good first period. They played a pretty good effort throughout the entire game, from all 3 periods through overtime, and then the shootout is what it was. But I was pleased with their effort. There definitely was some mistakes and normal Blackhawks things, but it was nice because it wasn't like the normal thing where we see like the Blackhawks play a really good first period and then they end up just kind of not showing up in the second. Or usually there's always like one period that's just really atrocious, but we didn't get that from the Blackhawks yesterday. And this is against the Winnipeg Jets, who are in the running for the President's Trophy with the the best record in the regular season. But I guess I'll share my thoughts on what I think of their potential playoff run, but probably save that for after the recap when we do NHL type stuff. Fun game from the Hawks yesterday. It was Pat Maroon's and Alec Martinez's last NHL game ever. Pat Maroon, we knew he was retiring. He made that whole announcement during his last game in St. Louis. So I think it wasn't like surprising, or because like we knew he was retiring, right? But Martinez was like a little bit, and he was thrown into the lineup in the morning skate, and it kind of caught me off guard because we saw I think Korchinski and Louis Crevier were both scratched, so that middle pairing had Martinez and Murphy. So I was kind of making a fuss about how Korchinski's getting scratched in favor of veterans, where Korchinski probably could use that NHL time. So Martinez gets the draw, and obviously if it's going to be his last game, then obviously it makes sense. What I didn't like was, I'm just going to be spitballing here, but Martinez, he wasn't brought on to play with Korchinski or anything like that. Korchinski did say like he looked up to Martinez and wants to model his game after him, but we never got to see them play together. And they're both left-handed defensemen, so like obviously there's that. But you could make it work, right? You could put like 2 left-handed D on a pair, and in a game that like doesn't really matter, and it's not even a big deal or anything. It's just something I thought would have been kind of a nice like passing of the torch kind of moment, maybe. I don't know, but. And a lot of people are upset that in the shootout, Pat Maroon didn't get a chance to go because it only lasted 3 rounds. Blackhawks scored once with Connor Bedard scoring a really nice goal. And then apparently Anders Sorensen said that both Pat Maroon and Alec Martinez were in the shootout plans. But some people are making a fuss that Maroon wasn't in it. I don't really see the point of getting mad over that. I mean, would it have been a cool send-off? Sure. But I don't know. It's kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is like these little tiny things, like me whining about Korchinski not playing with Martinez or Maroon not getting into the lineup for the shootout. Like these things don't really matter, but cool moment for those two. Alec Martinez obviously had that infamous goal in 2014 against the Blackhawks. I saw that on a replay in Afghanistan, so I wasn't able to see that game as it was happening. But I definitely remember where I was at when I found out that the Blackhawks got eliminated. So it was cool for Martinez. They did a little going away tribute, which his retirement was kind of last minute, so they probably had to throw that together last minute. And then of course Pat Maroon, both of those players, 3 Stanley Cups each, 6 combined. So lots of cool moments between those 2 players. For the Blackhawks, it's great that they got to have those kind of players on their team this season. So kudos to them. Great career. We'll definitely be seeing them again. I think Maroon, he'll probably have like a media personality type thing going on, and then maybe Martinez might be like on a coaching staff or player development stuff somewhere, But yeah. So for the game though, I thought it was a good showing, like I said, for the Blackhawks. Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard both scored 2 points. Both scored a goal. Connor Bedard scored a really nice goal on the power play. And then Frank Nazar scored with 5 minutes and 55 seconds to tie the game 3-3. And let me just fact check that real quick. I'm going off of Okay. Yeah, so sorry, I misspoke there. It wasn't tying it 3-3. That was what Bedard did, but maybe that was Donato. Anyway, no, yeah, sorry. Bedard, he made a really nice pass to Ryan Donato to put them 3-3. And then Bedard, he scored on the power play in the first period to put the Hawks up 2-0. So sorry, I got that mixed up. But that power play goal from Bedard was a really nice, one of those nice little glimpses from the future, where Rinzel and Nazar both get the assists, and then the pass to Ryan Donato was a beautiful pass from I think Bedard was on the half wall and passed it to Donato after making a nice zone entry, and then Alex Vlasic made a nice defensive play to kind of set everything up, and then Nazar's goal with a Levchinov assist and a Bertuzzi assist in there, and Nazar scores his 10th of the season. So, and Nazar had a excellent game if we're just looking at the numbers, and he's been consistently putting up really solid numbers. So Nazar, in this game, he had a 83% expected goal share, and a 61% Corsi. And considering that this team was kind of getting outchanced by the Jets, and the Jets really dominated them with the puck, the Blackhawks would finish the game with a 38% Corsi. It kind of just goes to show that Nazar really had an excellent game, and he really drove that line, because that whole line was the only line for the Blackhawks that was in the positive for fancy stats. So you got to really get excited about these players, right? You're starting to see these pieces come together, and it's fantastic. All these little players that we've been hearing about for so long, we're starting to see them go into the NHL and show up, right? I don't know. I'm really excited for next season, especially when more of these players start coming. Like, just watching Oliver Moore, just see how fast he is. Watching Sam Rinzel, who looks like he's been playing in the NHL for years already. The dude has great poise. He's confident with his movements. He's very deceptive, and he can skate great. So it is just a lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming the Hawks' way. We just need to nail that coaching hire. So I just wanted to highlight Nazar's numbers for tonight because I thought he had an excellent, excellent game. So kudos to Nazar. Another player who had an excellent game was Spencer Knight. He made some huge saves. He really kept the Blackhawks in it. The Jets, they had a 55, or we'll round that up, 56% expected goal share, which, considering how often they had the puck, it's a little surprising. And we'll get a little bit more on the Jets in a second, but excuse me, but Knight, he finished the game stopping 37 against 41 shots on goal. His save percentage was a respectable .902, and then here's something that's very respectable is that he faced 15 high danger shots against, and he stopped all of them. So that is awesome. It's just that glove that he's got to work on. I think he's got a weak glove, but I think people said the same thing about Corey Crawford, and I think Crawford was highly underrated for what he was able to do, and Spencer Knight is looking absolutely fantastic for the Blackhawks. But kudos to Spencer Knight for having a great game. Kept the Hawks in it to overtime, and then did great in overtime as well. So love to see it. And then scrolling through some notes, seeing if I got anything else to say. Rinzel, he I guess this is kind of tying into Knight, but Knight made a really nice save after a Rinzel turnover. So just to show, Rinzel's got he's not perfect, right? He's still got some stuff to round out, and that's obviously fine. He's young. But anyways, the Blackhawks are now locked into 31st place. The Sharks are going to for sure finish dead last, which means the Hawks for sure have a top 4 pick in the draft. So we'll see where the draft lottery falls for the Blackhawks. And then the Sharks, once again, they kind of make their way to getting the best chances for the number 1 overall draft pick again. So, yeah. Now, for the Jets, you kind of got to wonder, what was going on with them, because I don't know. On one hand, it is a Jets team that's playing against a Blackhawks team that has no business, trying to beat the Jets. So the Jets are taking a night off, probably not playing 100%, and that's how these really good teams tend to lose to really bad teams, especially the closer they get to the playoffs. And then these teams right now, once they're in the playoffs, they don't really care too much about seeding. I think that's mostly from the fans' point of view. And for the Jets, there wasn't really anything at stake yesterday, so the only thing that was at stake was locking the top spot in the Western Conference. All they needed was 1 point, so as long as they took the Blackhawks to overtime, at least they would have locked that spot. But it doesn't really matter, right? It wasn't like they had playoffs on the line. So I do think that there's a lot of negativity going the Jets' way, because how can they let a Blackhawks team take them to the shootout like this? And there's a lot of doubts of the Jets being able to do well in the playoffs. And I think that you have to take into consideration that the Jets aren't going to be playing that seriously against the Blackhawks. They're not going to be 100%. And we already saw Ehlers took a really weird hit. Well, it wasn't even a hit. So he ran into the ref who was on the blue line, watching for offside. And then Ehlers kind of bumped into him, hit his skate kind of funny, and went down. I don't remember if he came back in the game, but Like those kind of things, you don't want that to happen to your best players, right? So like, like the Jets going into the playoffs, like I don't know how that'll affect them if they lose somebody like that, because they're not a real deep team as it is. Um, and that's kind of where some of the criticism for this Jets team is coming from, is like they don't have the depth to carry them past the first round, which is where they've been struggling, like since time immemorial, or however you want to say that. But I think it's a little, I don't want to say foolish, but don't hold off on the Jets just because they're doing really good in the regular season and they struggled against a team like the Blackhawks. You never know. Anything could happen in the playoffs. So, like, you just kind of have to wait, right? I mean, yesterday there were definitely some concerning things, like, Connor Hellebuck. Like, I don't know what he was thinking with Nick Foligno's goal, but first period, he just, like, wasn't really locked in, right? And why should he be? It's the Blackhawks. And he, like, went almost all the way out to, like, it was, like, the top of the face-off circles, and I was trying to handle the puck, and Foligno was able to get it and score like a ridiculously easy goal on Hellebuck, who is like probably going to be winning the Vezina. So little things like that, but again, at the same time, like, would the Jets have played like this against a really good team? And I think they were coming off of a 2-game winning streak. So it's like, I think people kind of need to slow down a little bit on the Jets hate. But yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't sleep on this team just because they have a history of being bad in the first round. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do some more playoff talk later on once the regular season actually finishes. Kind of look at like how things are looking for both conferences. But yeah, I think the Jets probably played a little bit with the Blackhawks. They weren't playing 100%, and then I wouldn't take too much into that going in for the playoffs. Really quick, I'm just trying to see. Sorry, my computer does something weird when I'm recording podcasts, but I just want to look at the standings. Saturday, I'm sorry, it's Sunday right now, so we already have a few games going on. I think we got the Bruins and Penguins are playing. That's got to be a terrible game. I don't know. Two bad teams playing hockey is sometimes really fun. But yesterday we had 11 games, and some big ones too that had some implications for like where teams are finishing in the standings. So for the Canadians, they had to beat the Leafs to clinch a playoff spot, and they ended up losing in overtime 1-0. Mitch Marner scored an overtime goal to beat the Canadians, and I don't think they clinched that spot. I think they needed the 2 points, not the 1. And then the Wild and the Canucks, they went to overtime as well, 3-2 for the Wild. They won. The Wild had to overcome a 2-0 deficit before Brock Faber scored a really nice goal, and then Marcus Foligno scored the tying goal, and then Zuccarello would win it in OT. So, and then the Stars lost 5-3 against the Utah Hockey Club. So there's some concerns about the Stars going into the playoffs as well, just because they haven't been playing the best stretch of hockey recently. Again, I'm not reading too much into like when these really good teams are going to be struggling right before the playoffs kick off, because the Stars are one of my favorites to win the Stanley Cup. I'm going to have to like kind of look into all these teams once the Blackhawks season is over, so I can kind of focus on these good teams. But, don't freak out if your favorite team is not going to be doing so hot right now. And like if they're a team like the Stars where they're Stanley Cup favorites, like everything's probably going to turn out okay. It's when we start the playoffs, that's when you should start concerning yourself. But even through the first round, like some of these teams, like they just want to make it to the conference finals. Like remember the Blackhawks, like they usually struggled in the first round, and like it took them like to be down in a series like 3-0 or 3-1 to like kind of wake up and be like, oh shoot, we could actually get eliminated right now. So, like some of these teams might not even kick in a high gear until after the first round. Just don't feed into the fear mongering. Today, Sunday, we got 9 games, and then let's see if we got any big ones. Blue Jackets and Capitals. Yeah, so the Blue Jackets, I think it was yesterday, they crushed the Washington Capitals. I think it was 7-0. Yep. 7-0 against the Capitals. What is going on with Washington? I think it's just because they are tired, and they probably, like the hockey guy on YouTube said, they're distracted with the goal chase. So I don't know. I think this is a team that I do think isn't going to be a serious contender, but I don't know. I think the Capitals are going to have some struggles going into the final or the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But we'll see. Just looking at some standings really quick. The Canadiens, they're the only team in the East that still needs to clinch. They have 88 points. Technically, the Blue Jackets aren't eliminated. They are the only team that can... I'm sorry. The Canadiens and the Blue Jackets are the two teams that haven't clinched. The Canadiens are most likely to clinch. They need that 1 point. And then the Blue Jackets, they got 83 points. Highly doubt that they make it in, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. And then for the West, it's still the Wild, the Blues that are in the wild card spots, with the Flames still kind of sneaking in there. So the Wild, they have 95 points, and then the Blues, they have 94 points. They kind of struggling as of late. They got 7-2-1 in their last 10. I want to say with that overtime loss that they had is a 3-game losing streak. So kind of the opposite. And then the Flames, they have 90 points, but yeah. So that'll do it for now. Thanks for listening. We'll see if try to get another post-game show on this week. We got 2 games left, so they're both back-to-back, so we'll see how that fits in. And then I'll have some updates as to regards of like my Substack and this podcast and all that. And then we'll see if I even bother to do anything for the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Thank you for listening, and have yourselves a fantastic day.